Hello everyone, it is Saturday, December 7th, and this is episode number 3 of Super GameTalk Turbo HD Remix. I'm your host, Capanius, and as always, I am joined by your favorite Let's Player, Vertigo Tea Party.
Hello.
And we are back for another long discussion, at least not as long as last week.
We'll see.
Yeah, last week was exceptionally long. One of my friends asked me, did you guys forget to turn the mic off? Or...
He obviously doesn't watch many game podcasts. I don't listen to many others, but I know they tend to be... I used to listen to the Giant Bomb podcast, and I know it was often 2.5 to 3 hours repeatedly. Sometimes they talked about games.
Yeah. Sometimes they would just talk about arbitrary, old technology from the 80s, or rap music, or professional wrestling, it's...
Yeah, or cleaning products for the carpet,
Yeah. So... We don't steer off topic too much, but we still have our share of 2.5 hour discussions.
Right, and I definitely we agreed ahead of time. Just to kind of give you behind the scenes thing is we definitely agreed ahead of time. We wanted to focus more on game stuff in this podcast. I understand the allure to some of those other podcasts where they spend half of it just talking about their personal lives. And again, we'll talk about some of that, but we want to talk mostly about games because it is Game Talk.
That's why you're here.
It's not just Game Talk. It's Super Game Talk.
Yeah.
Turbo,
well, we started out as Game Talk, and we've made improvements along the way. And so we've released, both as a standalone release and expansion through DLC, Super Game Talk Turbo HD Remix.
And I can't confirm anything, but if you keep an eye on the Steam December sale, you might see a bundle, the collector's bundle of this podcast. And
you might notice a nice new shiny logo. I just want to say give a quick shout out to Jeremy. He did that for free for us. He's a friend of mine.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah,
it actually looks really good. I like it.
Yeah. So, I guess to get started, what have you been playing?
Well, first I cover the games that I talked about in my various Let's Tries. Let's Tries are just something I do on my channel to show off games. I played about 20 to 30 minutes. Oozi, Earth Adventures. It's a platformer, not a puzzle platformer. It's just a platformer, and it's pretty fun. It doesn't bring a lot new to the table. I don't think it wants to. I think it just wants to be a solid platformer, and it does that. I mean, the music and graphics are okay. The controls are really tight, which is obviously one of the most important things in a platformer, and it's fun. It's like $10, I think, but the problem is that there's just a billion different platformers. So the question is, why do I play this instead of Super Meat Boy or, one of the other billion platformers? But I also played Wrack. Wrack is an indie FPS, first-person shooter. It's old school, and I'm glad to see an old school FPS game being made. It's very fast-paced. You don't regenerate health just by hiding behind a pillar for 2 seconds. You pick up ammo and health. You can carry all the guns. There's no gun swapping back and forth. It's got that older school map type maps where it's not just a straight line. It's not as complex as some of the older ones you might be used to from especially Duke 3D, but it does have more variation than just running down corridors into new cutscenes. So I really enjoyed that. I will say that I must be getting old because I was playing it for about an hour and a half getting ready to do a video, and I actually got motion sick. I never get motion sick for FPS, except the only time that ever happened before was when I played the very first Aliens vs. Predator, where you could play as an alien and run on the ceilings and the walls, and of course I'm running down hallways going in circles around the walls and the halls the walls to the floor to the wall to the ceiling and just going in circles, and I got myself motion sick doing that. But yeah, I've never been motion sick before.
Now, is that so old school that they're sprites?
No.
Doom, or is it just
graphically it's cel shaded, so it's more along the Borderlands path. I'm personally not a fan of the graphic style. I like cel shaded. I guess I just don't like their version. It's not enough to put me off the game. It's just not a preference. And the other thing I'm not crazy about is a lot of the enemies are robots. And that just doesn't feel as good to kill robots as it does to kill, pit cops and demons and human soldiers.
You just need flesh to destroy.
Yes. Yeah, robots, it's just not...
Nuts and bolts aren't as gratifying.
Yeah. And there's also like no headshots, no crit shots. I'm hoping they add that in because right now it's open beta. It's one of those deals where you buy it now and you get into the like early access beta. So things will change.
This is why we see so many games with Nazis and zombies, because they're the ultimate guilt-free meat puppets to destroy.
Yeah, especially Nazis.
Yeah.
Let's see. I also played a game called Fancy Skulls. It's a first-person roguelike. I do not like roguelikes at all. The whole premise is like I don't like it. I don't like.
But it's what all the kids are into, man.
Yeah, I know it's the current thing.
It's all the hotness right now.
Yeah, I do not like roguelike. I've tried FTL, Binding of Isaac, and Rogue Legacy. And Rogue Legacy wasn't too bad because you kept like any armor and weapons and money that you got, which I think was an interesting spin. But it still had those roguelikes. The big thing with roguelikes that I do not like is getting into the game 15, 20 minutes, dying, and now you're back at the beginning again. It's like, well, and to me, now you're spending several minutes to get back to the fun part because now you're getting the better items or you're getting to the more difficult floors where the first areas tend to be very, very, very easy. And you tend to have like very basic, crappy items.
I think it's kind of one of those things where that's the payoff, the sense of gratification is getting through all that crap, and you do get better and better at the game. I think I mentioned this to you on Twitter, but I think Rogue Legacy presents a really good design hybrid approach where you are earning things that you can apply towards your overall goal while you are going through a procedurally mapped dungeon, and that's really tough, but you're making progress in the grand scheme of things. Did you see that Gama Sutra article on why we shouldn't call them roguelikes?
No.
It was basically, so apparently I didn't know this at all, but there's this Berlin interpretation of what the term roguelike means, and it must meet a certain number of like criteria to be a roguelike. So it's the most rigidly defined genre label I've ever seen, but apparently all the popular ones like Spelunky and Rogue Legacy and FTL are not technically meet the Berlin interpretation of what a roguelike is. And so he basically said we should call them procedural death labyrinths. It's like, all right, well,
PDLs?
Yeah. I don't really think it matters. I mean, I think roguelike gets across the point mostly, but I do like PDL, so.
I mean, I think the common understanding with roguelike, to me, the main aspects of a roguelike are once you're dead, your character is dead.
Permadeath.
Right.
Yeah.
You tend to get very powerful quickly. You get items and upgrades very quick with the understanding that the session is only going to last for a short amount of time, probably 20 to 30 minutes tops, if that. And there's like procedurally generated levels, and as you go up in levels or down in levels, it gets more difficult, but you also get more powerful items. In general, the roguelike, to me, the big thing is death equals death. You start from scratch every time. So I could absolutely see where Rogue Legacy doesn't really count as a roguelike because you have a different character and the castle is different, but your items stay the same. So now you are starting to veer off what the common, at least my understanding of the common understanding is for what a roguelike is. So I can get it, but I'm not going to get all tripped up in the nuances of, well, technically.
And then there's people that just call them roguelike likes. Which is like, all right, how far are we going to take this? Like, it really is like, you never name a genre after a game. Like, it just leads to this. Because anytime there's evolution of the mechanics of the genre, it just leads to these pointless discussions of semantics.
So if all future games that are very, very heavily story based, with very weak or unfleshed out game mechanics, can we call those Walking Dead likes or WD likes?
That's fine with me. Oh, season 2 starts December 17th, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow, I didn't think that was this year.
Yeah.
Well, now the question is, buy it or wait until it comes all out? And
that's the thing. Telltale games, they drop on sale fast. Like,
yeah, they do.
If you buy them an episode at a time, you will pay way more money than if you just wait until midway through the season.
Yeah. It's going to be hard not to. It's already hard not to buy The Wolf Among Us. The Wolf Among Us.
I haven't played that either.
Yeah,
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, I have too. I heard really good things about that, so we wanted to pick it up. So, to end on the roguelikes thing, would you call Rogue Legacy a roguelike light?
I've heard that term before too.
Really?
It's just as dumb.
Well, I'm copywriting it right now. I don't care if you heard it before.
Yeah. The chart on Gamasutra basically put together a matrix of all the roguelikes and roguelike likes, and he also said these are sometimes called roguelike lights, and put all the bullet point features of what they have and what makes them different. It was interesting, but it just seemed like such a waste of time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I think could be interesting to just discuss.
Yeah.
But in reality, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just call the damn thing a roguelike.
As long as it meets it a video game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is value in categorizing things, and I can see how this could get completely out of hand. Where, let's say, somebody makes a game that just has procedurally generated levels, but it's, hack and slash, and if you die, you just loaded the last checkpoint. And if they try to call that roguelike, it's like, okay, you've gone too far now. It's not the only reason it's roguelike. Because I've heard people try to say Diablo being roguelike. Just because of the randomly generated levels. I'm like, no, it's not a roguelike. It's like those people who call Diablo 3 an MMO. But anyway, as far as what else I play, Fancy Skulls, first off, I didn't like the art style. Again, personally, just did not like it. It's very simplistic, or minimalistic, I guess is a better term. I didn't like the art style. Again, it's not something that's going to make me not play it, but it was a little off-putting, I guess. It had an interesting premise in that, again, it's a first-person shooter, and you start with just a pistol with unlimited ammo. And when you go into a room, all the enemies are encased in these black eggs. And you can, run around the room, check out where all the eggs are located, and then there's a button in the middle that you step on that activates the enemies. Well, the enemies inside the eggs are just randomly generated, they're different every time. So the aspect I really liked was, especially later on, where the enemies are tougher, a lot of times you'll want to look around the room to see where all the spawns are before you hit the button, so you can kind of get a layout of the room and figure out where enemies are. And then when you hit the button, you have to quickly assess, this spawned here, and this enemy can't move, but it shoots bombs. But these enemies that spawned over here are very fast in melee. So I need to take those out ASAP, but at the same time, I need to move away from this stationary enemy that shoots bombs. So you have to make very quick strategic decisions. Or is that tactics? I always get tactics and strategy mixed up. Anyway, you have to make very quick planning decisions on how to deal with a situation and not die. I really liked that aspect. I thought that aspect was really, really fun because it felt super satisfying to, get yourself kind of planned out, but then the spawns totally blow your plan to hell. So you have to, on the fly, very quickly, dodge bullets and, duck behind cover and then kill these melee guys and then do the rest of the room. So I really liked that aspect. But the aspect I hated was when I died, I started over with a pistol on floor 1 again. So that, again, that's the thing with roguelikes. I tend to start liking them at first. Like FTL, the first 2 hours I played it, I was like, oh, this game is really fun. By hour 3, I was like, I turned it off and never turned it on again. Mm-hmm. Starting over is just not interesting to me. But anyway, as far as what else I played Black Ice. That's a very interesting game. It has very Tron-esque graphics. In a nutshell, I think you are a hacker, and the game is, I think, supposed to be a visual representation of you hacking all these companies. And when you start the game, it just plops you down in the middle of this area, and there's all these buildings, and they're supposed to represent the corporations that you're hacking. And when you mouse over each one, it tells you the difficulty of that building. And of course, you start at lower levels, and when you start hacking, like this green type of circle will go around you, and if you leave that circle, the hacking attempt stops. But when you start hacking, these spiders and various enemies will pop out, which are supposed to represent the security system. And every enemy you kill, it cuts the hacking time down. So the idea is you start hacking the building. You can't leave that one area and kill all the enemies. And once all the enemies are dead and the hacking timer is down, you've hacked that building and you get an item, and you get experience and you get money. So what's really, really cool about this game, I don't think I've ever seen this before. It looks like a standard ability bar layout. You've got your various weapons, and you have, shift to run and space to jump. Pretty standard. But what's interesting is that you can upgrade or change out all of that. So I actually found upgrades to my sprint so that I ran faster or have it use less energy, or RAM in this case. And there's upgrades to jump. You jump higher, or you teleport a short distance instead of jumping. Or you can just swap those out with more weapon abilities if you want. So if I say, you know what, I never run away or I never jump, I want, another bomb, or I want, this plasma rifle or whatever. You can just swap that in. So now you can't jump, but you get an extra weapon. I really, really like that aspect. And the hacking attempts on the building are generally pretty quick. So it's pretty fast paced. There's shops that you can go to. You can gain levels to increase, your crit chance and your health and all this other stuff. So it was a lot of fun. I liked it way more than I thought it would. Definitely check that out. It's called Black Ice.
That one sounds cool. Is that on Greenlight or Greenlight?
I think it might be on Greenlight. I'm not 100% sure on that.
They just released another huge batch of games.
Right. I don't. If it was on Greenlight, I don't think it was in that batch.
Yeah.
I don't think, because I think it might have just went up, as far as I know. I'm not 100% sure on that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely check Black Ice. Do search on Steam. If it's not on regular Steam, check the Greenlight, because I think at the very least it's on Greenlight if it's not on Steam proper. As far as what else, I'm almost done here. Believe it or not, Skyrim. I started playing Skyrim again.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, it's a game you might or might not have heard of. It is the fifth. Yeah, Elder Scrolls 5, right?
Yep.
Okay. Wow, it's sad. I've actually forgotten that. But yeah, I started playing it again. First time I've actually played a mage in any Elder Scrolls game. So it's been interesting. I'm using the Apocalypse spell package to kind of mix it up. I'm already having a lot of fun with it, like Raise Zombie. You can, raise... what's funny, too, is because I think Raise Zombie comes from the Apocalypse spell package. And what's funny is, and I don't think this is intended, but it's one of those funny things like, don't fix this, even if it's not intended, where when you raise a person, they'll say things that they would normally say. Like, for example, I raised a bandit that tried to kill me, and I had fire spells equipped, and he's like, "Oh, be careful! Make sure you don't burn everything down or burn the village down or whatever." So I thought that was pretty funny that he's just like still got the random dialogue that he probably shouldn't have. But I don't care because I thought it was hilarious.
So are you playing like 100% magic, or are you?
Yes, I'm going to focus 100% on magic. So
that's tough in that game.
Well, I'm using the Apocalypse spell package, and I'm using the balanced magic mod as well, which is it makes it better, but without trying to make it overpowered, which is the main reason I wanted those two, because I didn't want, at level 1 you get murder everything spell. Yeah. That's just boring. So I purposely grabbed those. Those were suggested a lot by the viewers. So I've got them, and so far it feels pretty good.
Cool.
They both made some various tweaks to make it more
it seems like every time I try an Elder Scrolls game, I'm going to go magic. I end up being kind of like battle mage, just kind of like hybrid. And it's fun. I do a lot of magic, but I still end up, getting my sword out for random encounters, all the time. But.
Yeah. Everything feels pretty weak compared to Stealth Archer. Like, especially in Skyrim, once you get your blacksmithing up and your enchanting up, like, how they ever passed blacksmithing and enchanting as they were is mind-boggling, because they were obviously
the game
broken.
Gets broken at the end.
Yeah, and not even like...
it's so goofy because it's enjoyably broken. It's like, this is stupid. Like,
right, but it's like, it's not even bugged. It's not like people are abusing bugs. Like, this is how it was designed. Mm-hmm. And I, as a stealth archer, even on master difficulty, which now they have legendary difficulty, but... I could one-shot stuff from stealth, like big stuff from stealth with one shot with the bow and really nice arrows. It was insane.
Then you add on, perks that you have.
Yeah.
You can destroy things. It's if you're hidden, you can just kill anything in the game.
What's funny is with my Archer playthrough, near the end, I actually started mixing it up. I went with two-handed axe, and I would actually they actually have an animation for like backstabbing with the two-handed axe. You like grab them from behind and like slit their throat with a two-handed axe.
That's awesome.
It's like, wow, that's brutal,
man.
But I always thought that was
yeah. I ended up like because I played through every piece of content in that game. I put like hundreds of hours into it, and towards the end, it's like I started out as stealth archer, but then it's like, well, I've plateaued my, archery abilities or my sneak abilities, so I'm just going to do two-handed. I'm going to do heavy armor, do light armor. I had plateaued light armor, so I did heavy armor. And I ended up just becoming this god in this game. Like, because you can even do the smithing and enchanting stuff and the alchemy stuff. There's a way to do loops on that stuff where you can just keep improving your gear, like, ad infinitum, just forever. Like, and so I just got so ridiculously powerful in the game. A dragon would appear, and I'd just like, just blow on it, and it would fall over dead. And
right, yeah. I didn't even abuse the alchemy, because alchemy was just so boring to level. It was by far the worst.
It was brutal. It was just so slow.
Yeah, it's just tedious as hell.
I actually just got the Elder Scrolls Anthology. There was a lightning deal on that. And that is
I saw that.
A sweet package. Like, it comes with, the first the first two games were all available for free to download, So the disc just has Arena and Daggerfall as with DOS simulators on a CD.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a nice. I already had Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim with all the DLC, but I kind of just wanted this package. So what I did is I just sold the Steam code that came with it for what I bought it for. So
nice.
Yeah, so nice. It worked out. But it comes with maps to everywhere in God, I'm drawing a blank. Everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Tamriel,
yeah.
And it's a pretty nice package. So I'm tempted to next year play through all 5.
I gotta say, and this is blasphemy, but I tried Morrowind twice. I really wanted to like it. I got bored out of my mind. Both times.
Same with me. I never finished Morrowind. I've done everything there is to do in Oblivion and Skyrim, but I just it's just hard going backwards in that series because they've been so good at making iterative improvements, big leaps and improvements, that when you go backwards in that series, it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. This is this way. It's hard to play through.
Yeah, like I actually have heard occasionally people say, "Oh, Oblivion is better than Skyrim." I'm like, what world do you live in? Like, even objectively, I just don't see how one could realistically, other than rose-colored glasses, possibly say Oblivion was better because so many systems have been improved. Like that god-awful social system. Yeah. Remember that idiotic speech wheel?
Yeah.
That was so dumb, and you would go to like all the guards, and like once you figured the little system out, you would just click. But it was
the
terrible.
Quests are better. I mean, if you look at the Daedric artifact quests in Skyrim, that's some of the best in that series.
I mean, I would argue that the Oblivion Thieves Guild quest was better, and the assassin one's probably better.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, you can't.
I don't know though, because I really liked what's that guy's name? The Assassin's Guild crazy person talks. He's like, man, I can't remember his name. All right,
and in Skyrim,
yeah,
I don't remember. I remember the vampire girl and a few of the others.
The one who delivered Dark Mother in the coffin.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
I remember him. Okay. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
No spoilers,
right? Yeah,
it's only a 2.5-year-old game. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, you really need to get on the ball if you haven't played Skyrim. It's been on sale only like 6 dozen times.
Yeah, I heard there is a mod for Skyrim to play the Morrowind content in the Skyrim engine.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that is. But anyway, lastly, for my games played this week, I finished Hotline Miami. I did kind of a marathon session a few days ago and finished up. I gotta say, it's one of those games that I really don't understand the love for. It was okay. When everything worked well, it felt really good. Like when you kicked the door open and knocked the guy down and, threw your gun or your whatever item across the room to knock one guy out and then punched the other guy and then quickly dispatch the guys who were knocked on the ground. It felt good, but that seemed to be the rarity. The game got much easier when I figured out that, because at first I tried to play it semi-stealthily, so that you're sneaking up, you throw your thing at them and knock them down. You don't no firing guns and things like that, just trying to kill everybody quietly. But I quickly realized the game just wasn't designed for that. Guards would very easily hear you walking up behind them. There was no walk command, and apparently you were wearing tap shoes because guards would very quickly turn on a dime and blow you away, even though if they were turned away. And I think that put a big damper. And another problem is the AI, or at least the way the guards are programmed to pursue or notice things, was just god awful or just non-existent. If there was two guys, let's say there's two guys walking in a pattern around the room, and you shoot the first guy with a silenced pistol and blow his brains out, the guy behind him just walks over the corpse and over the blood. It's that's normal. People's head explode all the time. So they had. Or, the guards were chasing you and run into a room, and they're just like, oh, he disappeared in the thin air. It's like you clearly saw me.
You had a cardboard box died.
Yeah, I know. It's like you clearly saw me run into this room. So the game just got much easier when I realized it was better to just grab an automatic, shoot people, and then if other guards heard you, which, again, was totally up in the air if they heard you or not, you just stand behind the door, and as they walk through, either kick the door open and knock them out, or just stand there and shoot them like ducks in a row as the bodies pile up. So I was really disappointed. I'm hoping Hotline Miami 2 fixes a lot of that. I like to see more stealth options where at least, guards aren't, hearing you when you're across the room, so that you can, or at least give me a walk button so I can slowly walk up and take them out quietly and take everybody out. I don't doubt that that's possible, but the way it's designed doesn't seem to be practical, and it's just far easier than just going in guns blazing and just murder the hell out of one. I mean, overall, again, I mostly liked it, I guess, but the last boss fight too was total shit. I don't know what he was thinking. You literally had to do things in less than a second, multiple times, in order to beat the last boss. It was just, it was really, really poor. But overall, I mean, I think it was better than average. Again, when it was good, it felt really good, and the music obviously was phenomenal. But I don't know, it's one of those games. I beat it, and I was like, I could see, I don't know. There's so many indie games better than this. Why is this one oh my god, Hotline Miami? You've got to play this.
That game's pretty cheap now, right? It's been on sale a few times.
I don't think it's more than $10 normal.
Yeah,
I don't think.
So, I mean, I feel like when you put it in that perspective, you feel like you got your money's worth. You feel like it's worth getting.
Yes. I think part of the game proposition now is it's not just the price, it's the time.
Yeah.
It's there's a billion pretty good games that I could buy for $10 right now. Mm-hmm. Tons of them. But I've only got, even though I don't have a job right now, I spend a lot of time recording videos and whatnot. I still have to do I have time to play this? Yeah. And the answer is usually no, because there's other better games that I can be playing.
Well, it's like when we were in high school, we had all the time in the world, but we didn't have a lot of money. And so now it's the other way around. It's like, with work and, everything else you do, it's like, I got a certain number of hours in a week that I can actually dedicate to playing. So it's more about time than money.
Yeah, I still think it's true for people who are gamers and in college or high school, because you can get games so cheap now. Yeah. Thanks to Steam sales, thanks to a plethora of really, really inexpensive or even free indie games.
Like PlayStation Plus, you can get it. I mean, XCOM is free, or it was free. I don't know if it still is, but imagine how many hours you can get out of XCOM for free. It's crazy.
Yeah, can you I can imagine having a game like XCOM when I was, maybe 13, 14, 15, because DuckTales is always the game I go to, because for whatever reason, me and another friend of mine in particular, we absolutely loved the hell out of that game. We played it over and over and over again. And that game is like an hour long. Like, you can sit down and beat DuckTales in about an hour, hour and a half.
Me and my brother played F-Zero for like 40, 50 hours. And there's so few tracks on. There's like 7 tracks and 4 cars. Like, there's not much to that game at all. And there is a Grand Prix circuit, but, you know, we just play the game over and over again. Like, way more, like, you can't imagine at least 60 hours. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even really particularly like F-Zero that much, and I probably put 20
I remember
plus
we
hours
had
into it.
time competitions, and that game didn't save your times, which I thought sucked. That game needs battery backup. Wow. I don't think it does.
It's very possible that that's true. But yeah, but now you've got these games that are like, oh, you know, it's got great replay value. You can do this again and again. And I'm like, it's cool that exists, but I'll almost certainly not take care of it. Unless that game is absolutely phenomenal, I'll probably not play it again for several years, if ever.
Well, that's a big kind of a testament for me. Is, you know, I have games that I play through all the time, and generally I'll play it through on normal difficulty. When I'm done, you know. But some games, their mechanics are fun enough so that, like, I'll be done with the game. It's like, okay, I want to get all the collectibles. And Arkham Asylum and Tomb Raider, when I got done with those games, both of them were like, I want to still go get the things and find all the little treasures or whatever. But, like, I don't know, Halo 4, I'm done with that game. It's like, yet another dose of Halo. It just wasn't, it didn't grab me or whatever. So that's always a big thing for me when I go back and I'm continuing to play a game after I'm done with it.
Yeah, that happened with me with Tomb Raider as well. I didn't 100% it, but I did start to go back and get the hidden items just to try to get 100%. And it also happened with Dark Souls. Like, when I beat Dark Souls, the first thing I was thinking was, oh, I really want to play this again. I want to play it on New Game Plus. And that is amazing, because a lot of times I'll think that, like, 3/4 of the way through the game, I'll be thinking about, oh, it'd be cool to play, you know, this game again with a different build, or, you know, talk to NPCs differently. But then by the time I'm done with it, I'm like, never mind. But like Dark Souls, I started playing it again within, like, after I beat it, was playing New Game Plus within 2 days. But that was partially because I was streaming it. I probably would have played it immediately afterwards, but I saved it for my 24-hour stream. But yeah, Dark Souls does a really good job of that. But yeah, I mean, I have to think, and it's hard to keep this stuff in perspective because most people we talk to and know are in our age range, around 30 years old, 35-ish. So, you know, they all have jobs. Most of them have jobs. I don't, but most of them have jobs. You know, a lot of them are married. A lot of them have kids. So the time aspect is different. But we don't really know people, or at least I don't, that are, you know, in college or high school that have all this free time, despite what they think. They've got all this free time and not many funds. So I have to wonder how many of them are like, okay, this is the one $60 game I'm going to buy for the next 6 months or get for the next 6 months. Because, I mean, that was the way it was for us. You know, it's like, it's birthday, it's time to figure out, like, what game you really, really want. And, like, this is, you know, the one I want.
Well, I also think, like, really young gamers now, it's a lot of they were brought up in a much different landscape, because, like, when you and me were brought up on, like, 8-bit Nintendo, the NES, and every 5 years since the NES, there was a new console. So I experienced the NES in elementary school, and part of Super Nintendo, and then middle school Super Nintendo, high school PlayStation, college PlayStation 2. But there are people that are entering college where, because of the 7-8 year console generation, they grew up on 360, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, they could be 13 and then 20, they're just now getting their next console.
Right.
It's just weird how that works. But yeah, like, we experienced a lot of different consoles, especially when you look at handhelds too. There was just, every couple of years there was new handhelds. And I think the handhelds life cycles have been pushed back too. But yeah, it's just interesting when you think about generational differences in the age of gamers.
Yeah, and another big thing that does played in our favor was rentals. We obviously rented games all the time. Well, I tried to rent games as often as I could get my mother to do so, and we did rent games quite a bit, but it was also the whole aspect. I don't doubt this still probably happens, but where you get together with your friends in the neighborhood or from school, and it's like, okay, I'm going to ask for this game, you ask for this game, and then you ask for this game, so that we've got all of them covered, and then we would swap back and forth and borrow games or go to each other's houses and play that one game like Street Fighter or whatever.
NBA Jam. I remember when that came out on Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. It was pretty big.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Street Fighter 2. I put lots of hours. When Street Fighter 2 original came out on SNES or Super Nintendo, I hate calling it SNES or SNES.
I call it SNES.
I hate both. Super Nintendo. Give it its due respect. It's one of the greatest consoles.
I remember me and my neighbor used to rent a Genesis every once in a while because both of us had Super Nintendo, but there were still Genesis games we wanted to play.
Yeah,
and especially when Mortal Kombat came out, it's like I want some blood in this game.
Yeah, really.
So we went down and rented. That's when you could rent a console. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember that too. I never did it, I don't think, but I always wanted to. I always wanted to rent because I want to say they might have even had TurboGrafx to rent. Maybe not, but I know there was one console in particular.
I am still on the lookout for a TurboGrafx 16.
I wanted a TurboGrafx so much. I remember going to Toys R Us, and you'd see all the consoles, and the TurboGrafx 16 graphically just blew everything away. And I would just sit there drooling. And the crazy thing about TurboGrafx 16, I still think to this day, and I'm pretty sure it was a TurboGrafx 16, you could take the game from the console, and they had that handheld, and you could put it in the handheld.
What was the handheld called? It was just like a TurboGrafx or...
I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure it was TurboGrafx 16 that you could do that. And I still think that's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever done that other than them.
Well, the Sega came out with a Nomad. You could take... It was like a portable Genesis.
Okay. And I've seen hack jobs where you can do that. Where you actually put your NES cartridges in this portable. But no, I don't think... Other than that, I don't know of any other company.
Not like first party. There's a company that makes this thing called Superboy, which is just like a portable Super Nintendo that just takes Super Nintendo cartridges. But
that's awesome.
It's third party.
Right, yeah. I don't see why they... Well, I guess I could see why Nintendo wouldn't want to bother with something like that.
Because they want to sell all their virtual console things. They don't make any money from cartridge sales anymore.
But you can't buy virtual console games on the Wii... Or not the Wii, but the DS, can you?
On the 3DS, you can buy Game Boy Color, NES, and Game Gear games.
Game Gear?
Yeah, you can buy Game Gear games on your 3DS.
I remember I was out of consoles for quite a while. Around the time Diablo and EverQuest came out, it's when I started to drop out of console and go to PC. I remember one time I was in a GameStop or something, and I was just I always looked at the console games. And I saw Mario Olympics, and it was Mario and Sonic on a Nintendo game. My mind was just blown. I was like, "What? You can't do that. You can't put Sega. This doesn't happen."
Well, I had a Dreamcast, and I was a huge Dreamcast fan. And I remember when the article started trickling about is Sega going to be a software company? And then they had that call where the Dreamcast is dead, and Sega just is software only. So it's crazy, but. I think Sega's done some interesting things. They've done some terrible things.
Lots of terrible things.
But one of the things I think is cool is that they still have the M2 division alive and well. M2 was their go-to A-list team back in the day. Back in the day. 85, Space Harrier, Hang On, Altered Beast, a lot of these, arcade titles that were really big. And so the 3DS has these 3D classics. This came out this week where they're redoing a bunch of older games, but they're not just releasing them on an emulator. They're actually going back to the source code and pulling out the foregrounds and backgrounds into stereoscopic 3D.
Yeah.
So in order to make Sonic the Hedgehog recreated for the 3D classics on the 3DS, they had to basically make a special... version of the Mega Drive is what they call the Genesis in Japan. So they had to make a special version of the Mega Drive emulated to support stereoscopic 3D. So it's almost as if you designed a Genesis today and it had to support stereoscopic 3D, what design considerations did you make? And so there's all these people at M2 that did this for this 3D release of Sonic the Hedgehog, so that when you're in what was it, Green Hill Zone?
Green Hill Zone.
Yeah, when you're in Green Hill Zone and you see in the background all the stuff moving at it, the parallax effect, they actually went back and redid the stereoscopic effect so that it was the right depth to look like a 3D effect. And it's pretty cool. And they redid it with Space Harrier, which ran on its own proprietary arcade boards. Like at the time, Sega did a lot of stuff in System 16, which were a standardized platform, but Space Harrier was its own board. So they went back and just took the Space Harrier raw source code and redid it in stereoscopic 3D. So there's still like portions of that company that are really doing cool things with their old assets. But then you look at like Sonic the Hedgehog 4, and man, Sonic hasn't had a good game in forever.
I mean, Sega just doesn't. They just don't know. They just don't know what the hell's going on. No. I don't know who's in charge, but they probably should not be.
And it's weird because now when you say Sega, like I think like classic Sega, but now it also means like Total Rome, because they acquired a bunch of like of the whole Total Rome thing. So
I keep forgetting they own that.
Yeah,
and every release is like super buggy apparently. Because as a series, I played the demo with the very first one and I didn't like it, so I just haven't kept up with it.
Yeah,
but yeah, like I think almost every release has been really buggy. I know Angry Joe showed a video where he was playing the Rome 2, Total War Rome 2, whatever, the most recent one that came out, and basically he was standing there with his troops, and the enemy troops would run up to him and then run away, and then run up to him, and then run. The whole time they're getting destroyed with arrows, but they just keep running back and forth. Like it was broken as hell at release. And Sega has done some really dumb things with YouTube and caused people to get striked. Total Biscuit, in fact, once got a strike because of Sega, but because of his clout, he was able to get out of it. But apparently there's still channels that are shut down because of Sega. And, despite what you think of Total Biscuit, I give him props because he refuses to cover any Sega game until those channels have been reinstated or got the strikes removed, and that hasn't happened. So he won't cover Sega games. That's cool. So I give him props for that, absolutely. Yeah. So what games have you been playing?
Well, the game I've played the most this week, I think this will be the first time, when we started this podcast, we wanted to come from the direction we cover all platforms, all generations, we just whatever we're playing at the time. And so this week I've been playing a little game called A Link to the Past on my SNES. So, yes, not my SNES.
Yes,
my
Super
SNES.
Nintendo.
Yeah, Super Nintendo Entertainment
Give it your
System.
Full respect.
So this Christmas I'm getting a 3DS, and I know this because I purchased it and I'm putting it under the tree. And so, it was on sale. And I told my wife, it's like, I really want a 3DS for Christmas. And then it was on sale for Black Friday. And it's like, well, I don't want you to spend $200 on this thing when it's $150. So
I'm doing you a favor.
I just bought it. But I still have to wait till Christmas to play it. And the first game I'm going to play on it is A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. And so I was like, man, I should just go back and play A Link to the Past again, just to kind of, refresh that in case there's a lot of, I've heard there's some fan service in there. There might be references. I mean, everybody knows about, the Zelda staples of slashing up the chickens and different fun things like that. But I don't know. That game holds up remarkably well. I mean, the music on that game is so great. It's been at least a decade since I've played it, I was thinking about. So a lot of the stuff is like, I don't remember. So there's still kind of the thrill of discovery on things that I'd forgotten about. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I haven't played it for at least a decade, almost certainly more. But I've seen like a lot of speed runs and stuff, so it wouldn't be quite as blind. But yeah, I wouldn't mind playing through it again. But like we were talking about earlier, just too many games.
Yeah. So it's hard to remember. Like it's hard to gauge in that game how far I am. I want to say I'm about a third of the way through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got the Master Sword. I got the pendants.
Okay.
And another game we played this week, I actually another lightning deal on Amazon was for the Skylanders starter pack for the PlayStation 4.
Really?
Yeah, so I played it at the Xbox One Area 1 event, and I was like, this is a fun game. It's a platform or whatever. And what's cool about that game is it's just kind of drop-in co-op. And so I thought this would be a fun game for me and my wife to play because she doesn't play a lot of games, and she likes a lot of the cartoony aesthetics of games. She really liked Knack, and I was like, well, it's been fun playing games together, so I'll give Skylanders a try. And I have I don't know, I have very mixed feelings about that game. Like, first of all, when you start out, you're just bombarded with collectibles. Everywhere you go, you pick up things, and there's no explanation or context of what this thing does. It's like, you got 1 out of 7 soul shards. You got 3 out of 18 this, and 1 out of 20 this. Just everything you do, it's just bombarded with, I've got to collect everything, And so I feel like it's really targeting that children's sense of I've got to get everything, kind of like Pokemon. But Pokemon is cool because you have to get these collectibles, but they have an immediate impact on your gameplay. So when you get something, when you capture something, it is totally like, I can use that Pokemon. Whereas in Skylanders, when you get a soul shard or whatever it is, it's like, well, I don't know what the fuck that is. Like, all right, thanks. I don't know. And, I wasn't saying anything. I was just kind of letting my wife experience it. And she kind of said the same thing to me. It's like, what is all this crap we're getting? Like, I don't know. The reason I really gave it a shot is, I know it's a kid's game. So I know that design considerations are targeted towards making kids want these things to buy more Skylanders. And it's apparent when you come across a thing. It's like, you need a Skylander of this element to go to that area. So there are certain areas that are walled off until you buy a Skylander that'll let you into that area.
So, and just to be clear, for people who don't know, because I actually never even heard of the Skylanders games until we went to the Atlanta Xbox thing. Mm-hmm. But it's a game where it comes with a peripheral.
The Portal of Power.
It looks like a tree stump to me.
Yeah, it's just kind of this lighted base. And you put action figures on it. The starter set comes with 3 action figures. And if you want to play as that character, you just put it on the base and you're ready to go.
You can mix and match the bottom and the top. So like if
this is Skylanders Swap Force. And so this is the first series where you can change the top half and the bottom half of these Skylanders so that you can have different movement abilities associated with different attack abilities.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Like, for example, if you got a Snake Man and then you've got this Birdman, just as examples, you can take the Birdman's torso and put him on as the body or as the top, but keep the snake body, so that he's got like the snake movement, but then he's got the wings, so you can maybe double jump or whatever it is. Yeah. And then you put it on the thing, and then in the game, bam, that's that's what your avatar looks like. That was pretty cool, and I actually liked that game more than I thought, because as you did when I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is stupid kids game.
It's not bad because there's a lot of variances in gameplay. Like, you go through different zones where you have different portions where you got to dodge these things, or you've got to attack different elements and different perspectives on the view.
Right.
And so it changes up what you're doing quite a bit, but it gets a little tedious in some of the stuff because it's pretty simplistic. Mm-hmm. I guess another reason people are really into it is that there's a sense of progression on your character base, so that when you earn coins, and you can use those coins to buy abilities that are associated with that figure. Mm-hmm. And they're saved onto the figure. So if you take that figure and you go over to a friend's house, that Skylander has those abilities purchased. And so it's kind of cool in that regard.
So if I just take the figure itself, mm-hmm. not the game, or I don't have to log in, I just put it on his base, I don't have to log in or anything, it's stored on the actual...
Yep.
Like, wow, that's really... interesting,
actually. Upgrades to that Skylander stay on that Skylander.
That's neat.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting because it separates out your story progression and collectibles to the upgrades of that Skylander. So another cool thing is that there are branching paths so that you can get abilities, and then you can choose your path of ability, kind of like, it's Diablo for babbies, basically.
It reminded me a lot of, at least gameplay wise, like when I was just playing the game. It reminded me of the Lego games.
Yeah.
Which, I'll admit freely that I completely underestimated those games. When I first bought a 360, it wasn't at release. It was sometime after, and Lego Indiana Jones came with it, and I was like, what is this crap? It's like this kiddie Lego junk. But it's like, I'll put it in and I'll play it a little bit, just give it a chance. And I was like, oh my god, like this game is so awesome. I love this game. I actually 100%ed that game, which I almost never do on any game.
Yeah.
But it's one of the very few games I've gotten 100% the achievements on.
Yeah. So I don't know. I got it for like another thing of that Skylanders. The MSRP on those games is pretty steep.
Yes.
But it's on sale a lot. So, like, the regular price for the starter pack, which has the game, the base, 3 action figures, is $75.
And that's all you need. Because I know, there's like certain sections. It's like, oh, you have to have this element, like wind or earth or whatever, or whatever it is, to access that. But if you get the starter pack, don't you technically get access to all of that? Just do various combinations?
I don't think so. I think there are areas that are blocked off until you get non-starter pack action figures.
Okay.
Which, yeah. But there's still like, a ton of stuff to do. Like, it is not... and so I got it for half off on a lightning deal. So it was like 30-something bucks. So, I don't know. I may stick with it and see if it gets more fun, especially once I understand what all the myriad collectibles are for. There's just... In my mind, it just feels so... ADD. I don't know. It's just too many things to collect in that game. But I don't know. The core gameplay is fun. I wouldn't say it's anything exceptional, but I can see how people get kind of into it because you upgrade your Skylanders and you get a sense of progression that is saved to that Skylander, and that's kind of a cool concept.
So let's say I've got my Snake Man and I've got all these upgrades for him. If I swap out, say, the torso onto a different creature, am I starting from ground zero, or does some of that carry over?
I think there are upgrades to the torso and there are upgrades to the base.
Okay, that would make sense.
I think though they connect and they stay with that torso or with that base.
Okay, that's cool.
And so some of the upgrades are, you can move faster or you can have this evasive ability. Some of them are you attack more or you have this special attack ability where if you hold a button or press a different button, you can attack in a different way. And so there is a ton of variation in that game. There's just a ton of stuff to discover. And I think I'm of the mindset where, because like we talked about earlier, with how much little time we have to play games, a lot of times I want to know what everything is and just get into it and understand. But I also see the advantage, especially as a kid, like this is my game to play this year. I got this for Christmas. This better last me. And you could play that game a ton and find out new things and experience new things. And then you could get an action figure for $10 and then, start over and experience new things with that action figure. So I would say it's a really good game that might not be for me. Right. Obviously, it's made for kids, but there's a ton of adults that are into it. So
that's what I've heard. I was talking to the lady at the Xbox thing. Obviously, she's you'd think, oh, they're gonna be, oh no, everybody knows this game.
Everybody.
But she seemed pretty upfront. She was like, she's like, actually, there are quite a bit of adults who are into the whole like collecting all of the different combinations of.
And this is the third like Skylanders game, basically. So I've read a lot of reviews. It's like this is the one where they got everything right. So I think this is Skylanders firing on all cylinders. And what's cool is it's backwards compatible with... So all Skylanders that have ever been made work in that game.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So you don't have to is this Series 1 or Series 2? Like, they all just will work in that. So, they won't have the swappability. You can't detach the torso from the base or anything like that.
You can. It just...
You can, yes.
But it just won't go back.
Get a Dremel tool and then see how that works out for you. So we played that a decent amount.
Would you
Actually, we just played that a couple of hours, not a whole ton.
So would you say, obviously it's going to be different for different people, but let's say that somebody's in a situation like you where they want to find a good co-op game to play with their husband or their wife or with their kids or something like that. Would you say that this game is worth full price for the starter pack? Like, do you think she felt like she wanted to play it some more with you, or was it because you said with Motherload, you both really enjoyed it, and it was definitely worth the money. Would you say this might be a good game to get somebody into who's not necessarily a gamer or doesn't have a lot of experience?
I would say, I definitely would say it's worth the time. As far as the money, it's just on sale so often that it would be dumb to pay full price. Okay. Like, especially, it'll go back to full price probably after all the seasonal sales are over, but all the way up until Christmas, it'll probably be on sale tons of places.
And I guess my last question on this game, how many people can play it at once, as far as you know? Is it just 2?
I think just 2, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I think the base only has like space for 2.
Okay.
But what's cool is, I can stick with my character, and she can swap out a character if she wants to. The only thing is, if anybody takes a Skylander off the base, it pauses the action for everyone. So it's not like it just disappears from the playing field. It goes to this separate screen where it's like, now put on your Skylander, player 2. It's pretty... so it would be really cool if they made a way that, like, swapping Skylanders was quicker.
Right.
Like, it goes to a separate screen, and it prompts you, and it has to load and do an animation. And there's probably some technical reasons why it has to be that way.
Right, yeah.
But it'd be really cool to see in the future, like, just... the Skylander disappear and then a drop in place and you go.
Yeah, a friend shows up, puts it on the thing, and it just pops into the game, and then you're off. Would be neat.
I don't think there's any online co-op or anything, but I haven't really dug into that as much.
Right.
Because on my friends list, the only other friend that I have that has played Skylanders is Jeff Gershman. So
just hit him up. Hey man, let's play this together.
Yeah, he sent me a real name request. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So now it's kind of interesting to see Jeff Gershman's name pop up everywhere on PlayStation.
That's awesome. So what else have you been playing?
I played some more Forza. We said a lot of things about Forza last week, and there's really not much new to report. I finished probably the first 8 championships on that game. And so one interesting thing is, in order to, I guess, bow to some of the pressure of the microtransaction discussion, Turn 10 had this Forza Rewards program where if you played previous Forza games, you could log in and get all these credits sent to you. So I logged in, and apparently I got 4 million credits, which is 6 million credits is what the E21 costs, and that's the car I want. So it's like that'll put me well toward. And like I've played it for probably at least 10 hours, and I'm at 200,000 credits. So I still have a long way to go.
Wow.
Even with that, you can imagine how much it would take me to... And granted, I've been buying cars because I need to buy cars to progress. So I don't feel like I'm making much more money than what I need to spend to progress. So at a certain point, once you get to the top, you can grind it out and get enough credits to get that E21. But that's just not fun. Like it totally like... Even like I have taken the time to understand the progression differences between 4 and 5, but even if I didn't, I would just subconsciously feel that the game is grindy. Like it doesn't just, it's not just on paper, it feels too grindy. So especially with the subset of tracks that are in that game, I'm already sick of the tracks. And not sick of the tracks, but I'm already growing a little weary of the tracks.
So have you read the reviews for Gran Turismo?
Yeah, I have. And what's interesting is a lot of the ways it's similar, and there's some subtle ways that it's different. Because, it's a similar problem because they want to paywall these cars that are really hard to get in the game so that people who are like feel like they don't have enough time, they'll just go out and buy them.
Right.
And they are priced just as astronomically ridiculous as Forza. So I think the most expensive Gran Turismo 6 car was it $170 or something like that? It was even worse
I think
than,
so. Well,
than Forza.
if you converted it to real life money,
Yeah.
But you could still get it with in-game money.
Right.
I read the Destructoid review just because I wanted to kind of talk about this. Because Destructoid, I forget who reviewed it, but they give it a 9 out of 10.
And Polygon did too.
The headline even said specifically, this is what Forza should have been. For Destructoid it was, anyway. And he definitely addressed the microtransaction thing. He's like, and he hit on a lot of the points that you brought up last week, where he was talking about, yes, these cars would cost a lot of money if I bought the things. But he's like, I'm unlocking a lot of tracks. I'm unlocking cars as I go. So I don't really get as much of a pressure like, oh, God, I'm so sick of this car. Or, I'm so sick of this track. He seemed like he was... I got the impression he thought the pacing of getting new cars felt much more rewarding.
And that's the difference. For between Gran Turismo 5 and 6, and Shuei Yoshida tweeted this, there was no change in the progression. So they didn't hamper your progression in any way. You progressed at the same rate. You got new cars. You unlocked new things. From an objective standpoint, between Forza 4 and Forza 5, they severely gimped your progress. And Turn 10 has changed some things to make progress better, but it's still not as fast as it was in Forza 4. So it's really... what's, I guess, damning about Forza 5 is the combination of the microtransactions and the gimped progression.
Right. And the difference being they did it on purpose to make you want to spend the money. And
they prompt you for... And I haven't played Gran Turismo 6, so I'm not saying that this is a difference, but on Forza 5, they prompt you all the time to spend real money.
The Destructoid article said that he didn't get many or he didn't get any prompts at all about buying it. So it seemed a lot less like, hey, buy money, buy it. You don't want to do these races, do you? No. Just buy this car.
It's like playing that game, I get the same feeling of frustration I get when I visit a website and a full page ad comes up and I have to hunt for this tiny close button, or there isn't one and I have to sit through an ad. It's just like,
Destructoid. Hi, you are a prime culprit in this. I love Destructoid. It's my favorite game site. But man, they have those stupid little ads that scroll up from the bottom, take up the whole screen to find the X.
It's an arms race with people that have ad block. There's just more and more people use ad block, and so that forces the advertising to get more. They have to get the ads that make more money, and the ads that make more money are more invasive, and that causes more people to get ad block.
Yeah.
And so it's this vicious circle. And you see Destructoid has a premium now,
do they?
paywall content. So I don't know. I don't think that's really the answer either. I think people just need to stop using ad block. But
I just don't see that happening.
No.
The problem is with ad block. The problem is before ad block was a thing, or before it even became popular, the advertisers just completely abused any rights they had for ads. These full screen ads, the pop-up ads, these really loud video ads, all these stupid things. They just abused the hell out of it because you don't have a choice. Well, this caused people to want to hide the damn ads because they were incredibly annoying. And the pop-up era, that was an awful age, awful age of the internet. So it's they push people to use ad block by being annoying. If we could have some kind of unspoken rule that said, look, these banner ads are fine.
Yeah.
Even video ads that don't have sound that play off to the side, that's fine. Don't pop up in my face. Don't cover the screen. Don't pop up a new window. Things like that. That makes me immediately want to use ad block.
I think the problem with ad block is that it becomes an all or nothing thing for users. And so in an ideal world, you would open up a dialogue and be like, hey, I'm going to use ad block unless if you use obtrusive ads, and you would just ad block that site, and then when they stop using obtrusive ads, you wouldn't ad block that site, because people just need to be realistic that this content doesn't magically appear. People got to eat,
Right.
So I think if they had less obtrusive ads and people disabled ad block, and we could go back to the way it was in some cases, but both sides are being pretty stubborn about it.
Well, if ad block, I think, defaulted to opt in, so that all sites are automatically whitelisted, but then if a site was really annoying with their ads, you could block it. I think that would probably help.
Got immediately sent to them. Like, they could get metrics on how many people initiated ad block on certain ads. Like, look, this ad caused people to ad block this site, 5,000 times today. And so you communicate basically to the ad sellers which ads are really frustrating people's ability to get content. And then, or even not ad sellers get it, but the actual content makers, so they can go to the ad sellers and be like, listen, your ads are interfering with our ability to deliver content. And then it's their problem to solve.
Yeah.
But the problem is just ad block's an all or nothing thing. And we could have a whole podcast on internet marketing.
Yeah, I think though that you need to get a PS3 and get Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear your opinions on both.
Any listeners out there would like to donate their old PS3, I'll buy a copy of Gran Turismo 6.
Well, I have my PS3. If you Redboxed Gran Turismo, you could borrow my PS3.
I might do that, actually.
Because I'd actually like to hear what you have to say, compare them.
That's a good idea, actually. I'm gonna hit that up and take a look tonight.
Okay.
See if Redbox has any copies.
Okay. And you can check online now. It's so amazing.
Oh, okay. I should try that.
You can look at Redbox and see what games it has, and you can see if they're out or not.
Yeah.
We live in the future. It's
totally
amazing. Before it was let's go to load up in the car and go to Blockbuster, and they don't have the game I want. You bastards! Well, I'll get
Blockbuster. Rest in peace.
Yeah, God. Yeah.
I can't think of a bigger not morality tale, but just cautionary tale on a giant company that didn't know how to shift its priorities. It's just, they were huge back in the day. They were everything. Remember the 80s? Yeah. The commercials, Blockbuster, I don't know. It was everywhere.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people are like, oh, this company's so big, it'll never go away. It's man, history has shown so many times these companies were enormous and seemed unstoppable. And 15 years later, it's they might still be there, but it's oh yeah, I remember them. Those guys. MySpace. Imagine going back to the height of MySpace and saying in 5 years or less, MySpace is going to be a joke. But no, it's impossible. They're an unstoppable juggernaut. There are sites that I have problems saying that about, or companies that I couldn't say in 5 years, even with that history, I wouldn't say 5 years from now Facebook is going to be defunct. It is the internet age, so it's easy for things to change quickly, but Facebook is really, really entrenched worldwide. But 10 years from now, I could absolutely see people man, remember Facebook? That thing? Jeez, that was awful.
Facebook.
Who does that anymore? Like we say about MySpace now.
But it's a significant percentage of the world's population is on Facebook.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Insane.
That's
so
kind of a big deal. Yeah. So another thing that's going on later today is the VGX, the video game
the
X
Spike
Awards.
Video Game Awards.
Now, anyone who has watched this abortion of a award show,
it sucks because I want to watch it because a lot of announcements happen that night. But at the same time, it's the kind of show that you feel embarrassed if somebody walks in. It's oh, this is what video game culture is? It's no, this is
and
really
that's
dumb.
sad. That's sad, given that I tend to play some games that might have some crazy jiggle physics or blatant nudity. But yeah, I feel ashamed to be caught watching the Spike.
It's just so pedantic.
To their credit, they are supposedly resetting everything this year. That's part of the reason
what they're
for the name
saying.
change.
And so I'd like to watch it and just to get an opinion on if
I think
that's
they're
really happening or not. Yeah, they're streaming it. So for all you weird people like me that don't have cable television, you can just watch it on the internet.
We're the new normal, man. Cut your cables.
Not yet.
I know. We're ahead of the curve.
Yes.
We're ahead of the curve. But it'll be interesting. I kind of do want to give them a shot. I mean, at least they've admitted, look, it was a total travesty before.
Yeah.
Let's actually do this right. We'll see if they do. My expectations are low, but I would love for them to be like legit, like focusing on, let's see some games that are actually really good, not just let's give awards to the most popular game.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm sure it's not going to get to where we want it to be. Like, there's not going to be intelligent just conversation about changes to gameplay or what video games are going or what happened this year. But maybe an in-between where it's like, yeah, BioShock Infinite was awesome, but it had some issues with gameplay mechanics and,
Right.
Because I feel like there are some AAA titles that maybe just are all touted as equally awesome, and AAA titles are great, but at the end of the day, they each have, subtle problems with them that, should be accounted for.
Right.
And then there are also indies that I want it to be moderate in the sense that indies don't get a pass just because they're indies, but at the same time, they're praised for what they've done this year.
Right. Yeah, if they have category, which I'm sure they do, they have a category for just all around game of the year, and they gave it to, I don't know, Gone Home versus like Tomb Raider or
I think Gone Home Studio is up for Studio of the Year, which is just I don't even know what that thing means.
That seems pretty silly. Like, they made one game that was great, so supposedly great. It's like, okay, I mean, how is that Studio of the Year? Like,
I don't know, but
maybe breaking new ground. But I mean, that's going to be game specific. You don't usually see studios with 2, 3, 4 releases in a year.
You know what game I'd like to see get some recognition is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Have you played that?
No, but it's on sale, and I'm very much considering it.
Like, that game was really good, and I'm not going to give any like story detail away or anything, but it might have made more of an emotional impact on me because I have a brother that's really close to me. So the story sequence that unfolded was, I don't know. I want to discuss it with somebody.
Yeah.
I have a big write up on it that is a spoiler fest on my blog. If you've played Brothers, you should check it out. And
where's your blog at?
It is at Capanius, CAPANE.us. So
there's 3 games that I feel like that I need to play to really get a good feel and say that I've played the major games of this year, and that's Brothers, Gone Home, and the Stanley Parable.
Yeah, I still haven't played the Stanley Parable, and I think that was on sale this week.
It's on sale again. I don't know if it's
$9. Yeah,
it's on sale because the Steam's running a VGX sale.
Oh, okay.
So Brothers is on sale. Stanley Parable is on sale. I think Gone Home is on sale too.
Get Brothers, and I don't even know if it's possible not to, but you have to play it with dual analog controller.
Oh yeah.
So
I think at least at release you had to have a controller.
Yeah. Like, it sounds dumb, but just trust me, you need to play it on the controller.
Yeah, I think originally it just would not play flat out with a controller or with a keyboard. So we'll see how the Spike Game Awards go. I like that they took their name out of it because, again, I think they realized, like, man, nobody's watching, or at least gamers aren't watching this crap. Like, maybe,
well, they were begrudgingly, ashamedly watching it because,
but not for the award show.
Yeah, that's when a lot of games get announced, and it was kind of weird because it was in this time period of the year where, E3 was over. We had just gotten through the rush of the holiday season, and all the stuff that we talked about being released was released. And it was this great time for what's coming out soon, And there was a lot of announcements at E3 and TGS and this year, but I think, because that's when Skyrim was officially announced, a full year and a half before it came out.
There was a major World of Warcraft announcement at one of those too, wasn't there? Or at least a StarCraft announcement, I thought once. Maybe. No, I think I'm thinking of Skyrim.
BlizzCon.
I think I'm thinking of Skyrim. Yeah. I don't know why I thought Blizzard, but yeah, I mean,
I know this isn't going to happen, but Fallout 4 would be a nice announcement.
You can be pretty rest assured that's not going to be announced.
Well, I know that there was a hoax,
yes,
but that doesn't necessarily mean there's no Fallout 4.
I think Bethesda has flat out said we are not announcing anything at VGX. Sorry, I hate to break it to you live.
How long before Fallout 4? I just want to see them take what they did graphically in Skyrim.
You might want to sit down harder, but I'm going to tell you probably late 2015 is being optimistic probably at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, when they announced Skyrim, it was still like they said, "Oh, this is a year and a half off. Like, it's a long way off." So
more like 2016.
I feel like I want to get an announcement out of the way because I know the announcement is going to take a year and a half or 2 years after the announcement.
Because I don't have any doubt. Well, okay, I don't have any realistic doubt that they are at the very least the planning stages, design stages.
I think they're toiling on like the writing and pre-production pretty hardcore. Like they have dedicated teams on Fallout 4 right now.
Right. So it's not that I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like say Half-Life 3 or Episode 3, but it's that like you say when they announce it, you feel like okay now it's officially official.
Yeah.
And 2, we know it's closer.
Yeah.
It's closer to being. It still might not be late till 15, but
it is another step, another requirement that has to happen before the game comes out.
Right.
So.
But I'm pretty sure it was Bethesda that said that they did not have anything to announce at VGX. I think it was them.
All right.
I feel pretty sure.
I think there's going to be a new Batman announcement. And
Another one?
Well,
we just had Origins.
Yeah, it's an annualized game now. It's Batman every year.
Was Arkham City last year?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe it was.
But that's why Origins was just okay because it's the B team. Like, it's the same like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed. If you look historically, there have been exceptional and mediocre titles flip-flopped because they have their A team and they have their B team. They have Infinity Ward and they have, gosh, what was the other one? Treyarch, yeah. And so they just like it's like Windows, you know. Every other Windows release is good.
Yeah.
But I think the next Batman is what the serious talent has been working on right now for the last, year and a half. So Arkham, I think it's going to be Arkham World. So
Arkham World. He just flies around the world beating people up from the bat plane.
Uh-huh.
That would be amazing. And people complain about, it's just making the same game again or it's the same as it was. You know what? I'm okay with that to a point. Like Arkham Asylum is, it's just a more open world. It's pretty much the same mechanics. I don't care. Arkham Asylum was a hell of a lot of fun to play. I want to play more of this.
You talking about Arkham City?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I don't want this to be the last game of the Batman series. Definitely. I don't want them to take the game in a whole new direction now.
Yeah.
I want more of this game. Now, maybe not every year, because you're just asking for putting out anywhere from mediocre to just crappy games. But I want more Batman games like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. And I haven't played Origins, so I can't give it a fair shake.
Yeah.
But
I think in a general sense, annualization breeds repetition. So it's an easy trap to fall in. If you look at Call of Duty, man, there's not been a game that has gotten more samey year after year than Call of Duty. And this is the first year where I think there's a noticeable outcry of discontent with it.
Yeah.
Because
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean...
And keeps selling millions.
With Titanfall coming out, if Titanfall hits the chords of, gameplay audience that they're expecting to or hoping to, it could be the beginning of, Call of Duty kind of just having to take a break.
I don't know. Like, I think Call of Duty, quite frankly, preys on the bro gamer. The people who just want to sit down.
Wants.
Are you? Do they really want like the bro gamer? The people who just like run and gun and want like quick kills, and because it seems like Call of Duty is geared to making you feel like you're good, even if you're not. Because it's just fast paced. You turn a corner, you shoot a guy with 2 bullets, he's dead. Then you die 2 seconds later from somebody who spawns. It's just like a nonstop thing, and people are like, I'm amazing. Everybody ends up leaving the game thinking they did amazing.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's objective measurements like KDR that you can't really fake. Like if you're dying more than you're killing, there's no way that everyone is killing more than they're dying.
Right,
So,
but I think it happens enough that your kill to death ratio is probably. And to be fair, I haven't played one since 4. But just
the pros
watching
that have
people
been playing it for year after year are getting serious about it and getting good at it, and they care about KDR and they care about prestiging and all that stuff. And so they while I won't ever, I don't think a pro gamer is ever going to care about a game's ability to push a narrative. They are going to care about the mechanics and how well the multiplayer aspect of a game can be fun with, perks and calling in abilities and things like that. And I think Titanfall is an interesting proposition if it works out, because it's aiming to get both the people that have already said, I'm burnt out on first-person shooters, I'm not a bro gamer, that's not my scene, and the people in the scene that are just looking for something new. They just want to be on that fringe of, man, no, not Call of Duty, that crap's old, check out Titanfall. They want to capitalize on that, and they're just striking while the iron's hot, because right now Call of Duty is it's in a forced pivot. They have to make a change, and I don't know if they might just take a year off, because financially that's more of a long-term decision that's better for that series. They can keep doing it annual and just keep making crap, but it's kind of like NBA Live. I mean, that series is terrible.
Oh, is it?
They need to take a year off. I don't know the details of it, but I think there's some contractual obligation where they have to make an NBA game.
Yeah.
And so they just need to release a $20 roster update while we're spending 2 years to work on a real update. And
is it bad because it's buggy, or just because
it's just all of the above? Everything is wrong with that game. It's buggy, it looks terrible. I mean, I need to come up with some YouTube videos to send you. It is ridiculous. And on top of that, it's like NBA 2K owns that franchise. I mean, not only do they have a lot of work to get to a passable state, they're still going to be beat by NBA 2K. There's nothing they can do. I mean, I think it speaks. It's kind of a catch-22. You don't want there to be only one licensed sports franchise.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, one's going to rise to the top, and the other one's going to stop trying, yet still be contractually obligated to make an annual property.
Would you say that there's a real competitor to MLB The Show?
No.
Even though it's only on PS3?
Yeah.
Well, 4 probably.
Even though it's only on PlayStation platforms, because MLB 2K was terrible too.
Yeah.
I mean, they had problems. I mean, it wasn't as bad as NBA Live, but everybody knew that 2K kind of sucked. I mean, the only people that bought it were people that only had a 360 that loved baseball.
Yeah. So if you want to play baseball, you need to get a PlayStation.
And most people that are serious about baseball games know that, and either already have a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4, and that informed their buying decision.
So another thing that has happened is the Penny Arcade report is getting shut down. It did seem very sudden, because Ben Kuchera had made a post about how there's going to be no more Penny Arcade report. And again, those of you who aren't aware, it was just kind of Penny Arcade's gaming journalism arm, not much of an arm, but just kind of they again, kind of with, I think what Polygon wanted to do was shake up the game journalism industry, or clean it up, whatever. And it did seem very sudden. There wasn't really hints that this was coming down the pipe. But I read a post by, I forget his real name, Tycho, but I read a post by him. Basically, his thing was he wants Penny Arcade, they've kind of had their fingers in too many pots at this point, and it was just becoming a nightmare to run, and he wants to focus on things that they want to do, like the pins, and he mentioned a bunch of things that I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
Because I don't keep up with Penny Arcade that much. I don't have a problem with them, I just don't.
I'm not into it, but there's a whole facet of subculture of different products that they have, the whole pins, the Penny
pin
Arcade thing.
I absolutely don't get that.
Well,
but
what's funny is I was at the Microsoft store, and they have the Killer Instinct Pin Ultimate Edition that comes with 2 pins, and so it was the day, it was Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving. before they were going to open up their like sales or whatever, and they had this. They just got them in. They didn't have it on launch day, and so I bought it and I sold it for double on eBay.
Wow!
But it's like just because like they wanted the pin. Like it comes with a downloadable code for the $40 Ultra Edition, but this person spent $120 on 2 of the pins. It's not like the full set, but 2 pins, and then the $40 code. It's like what they have tapped into something so lucrative. It's crazy.
I mean, and they're just like physical pins.
You put like just collectible pins you put on there that people pay. Because what they do, they're brilliant about this, but they have them so that they only offer pins at this Penny Arcade Expo or at PAX East. And
right.
This is the pin from PAX East, 2012.
Right.
And that was the only time you could ever get it. And people travel. It's like, well, I got to get that pin. It's like,
man, I absolutely don't get that.
Yeah,
but I mean, I understand that a lot of people do, so that's fine.
Yeah,
but and I absolutely understand and respect the idea that what we've exploded way more than we thought. I mean, it's you think Penny Arcade back in the day, it's just a webcomic, like that was all it was in some forums,
and for a while that's all it was.
Yeah,
like it was kind of once they started having packs, it just blew up.
Well, I mean, yeah, they got big enough to even have packs,
yeah.
Which, it was pretty big then, but then after they started having packs. And their timing was phenomenal then, because that's around the time, I think, the
E3 went to invites only. And
right, so their timing was really, really good, which I think, isn't that the reason they did packs, was because E3
Yeah, they wanted a fan convention, and
right.
E3 was more of a press convention.
Right, so, and they've got packs now, and they've got, like, all these other things I hear them talk about, because I follow Gabe, whose name I also forget, but I follow him on Twitter, and I hear him talking about these other things they do, and I don't really keep up with it, not that I dislike it, I just don't keep up with it. So I understand, wanting to focus on specific things. So some people were like, oh, well, why don't you let somebody else run the Penny Arcade report, like just completely, you don't have to deal with it. And for one, you have to trust that person fully to do that. Like if you don't want to deal with it at all, you have to 100% trust that person's running everything the way you want it to be run. And if you don't, then you're kind of back in the same thing where you're still hearing about it or you're still having to deal with things, and you just don't even want to deal with it. So I absolutely understand that. And I was reading a Reddit thread about it, and because there actually were people who were like, how dare they close down the Penny Arcade report? It's like, and even one person even said that's so selfish of them to shut it down just because he wants to focus. That. I'm like, do you want to look up entitlement? Like that word is thrown around a lot now, but like that is pretty much the definition.
I think the healthiest stance on displays of entitlement is just to be entertained, because it's like when you see that, I see that stuff in Reddit, I think it's so funny.
Well,
like,
luckily most people, he got downvoted to hell, and people were like, are you serious? Like you think like he's being selfish because he wants to focus. Regardless of what you think about Penny Arcade.
Remember when they closed down Google Reader?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, it's like, what? You're tickling my Google Reader?
Like, yeah, my ex loved Google, and I liked Google Reader. I just couldn't keep up with it, and I think it sucks they shut it down as well. But yeah, people lost their minds when that guy. I was surprised how many people were using it apparently, because everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's shutting it down." But it has to be said that I'm not going to miss Ben Kuchera. He is a total douchebag. He just an asshole. And I was rereading. Somebody linked his post. The title was something along the lines of the Xbox One, the PS4, and the always online. Why this backlash is not going to affect them? Because this was back when Microsoft announced all the online crap, but Sony hadn't said anything yet. And it's so funny reading that article now, because he's like, they don't care about what people are saying on Twitter and social networks. Like they don't give a damn. And Sony's going to do the same thing as Microsoft's doing right now, so there's no point whatsoever complaining about all this and blah blah blah. It was so funny reading that article now, and it's like he was completely wrong on everything. And of course, he never really addressed that as far as I'm aware. And there's other douchey things. I think the worst was when he was attacking that writer from Forbes, Eric Eric something. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
But long story short, the person who wrote this article for Forbes, he was talking about some old NES game. And in the article, he ended up linking to, I think, a site where you could get the ROM for it. And I think it's pretty safe to say that was wrong. He should not have done that. He shouldn't have linked to a ROM on a professional journalism site.
Forbes. I don't know.
Yeah, on Forbes
linking to ROMs. That's crazy.
I mean, granted, it's an NES game, but but I think the story was, and I could be wrong on this, but I think the whole story was they just put it on Virtual Console. So that's even more. You shouldn't have done it. So people did call him out on it and said you shouldn't do that. So he went back, took the links out, and edited the post and said, hey, I took these links out because I shouldn't have put them in the first place. So, he took them out. He made a note, said he took them out and why he took them out. I think, okay, that's fine. Everybody makes mistakes. Like, Ben Kuchera, went on the rampage, saying how this guy should, his career should be directly impacted. And I'm going to do what I can to hurt this guy's reputation. It's like, what's wrong with you? It's like the guy made a mistake, and he corrected it almost very quickly and admitted he made a mistake.
I don't understand his motivation. Like, is he feel like he's some sort of ROM
because
savior
he's now advocating piracy, air quotes, because he linked to a ROM. So now he's advocating piracy. And
see, I don't know if we have time to get into my official stance on piracy, but my stance is that you don't pirate. I mean, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this, but you clearly don't pirate anything that is currently being supported. That's obvious, And at a certain point, it's all up to you. Like, it's what you are comfortable with, and so I don't consider NES something that I'm super protective of. Those ROMs, you get those ROMs. It's 8-bit Nintendo. You generally just buy them out of convenience on the Virtual Console because it's easier and a better experience than going to download these things officially. But I don't think that a news source like Forbes should be officially linking ROMs, whatever.
Agreed.
So
yeah, absolutely.
This guy should did the right thing by changing it,
and saying he messed up.
At the same time, if you are fighting the problems of piracy, you don't start with NES ROM downloads.
A guy linking obscure NES game.
You know how much difference that's going to make on video game sales this year? 0.0. Like, if this guy had linked a mod chip for an Xbox 360 that allowed you to play ISOs, then that is egregious and terrible, and that is taking money away from the industry as it stands right now. But I mean, I don't know. I may get a lot of people that disagree with me about this, but if you're talking about if you want to play Nintendo or Super Nintendo games, that you buy those games, Nintendo doesn't get a cut of that. Like, it's just some guy on eBay gets a cut of that. So, play them on an emulator is making no difference to the industry right now.
Yeah, that's a whole big topic we could talk about for a long time. But I've done my share of piracy, no doubt. Mostly, well, almost exclusively back in my totally broke college days, and that's absolutely no justification for it. Mm-hmm. But I'm also not one of the holier than thou folks who's like, you pirated this, you're a scumbag. Yeah. I mean, I do think you should probably question yourself when you pirate like $5 and $10 games. Like seriously, like you're pirating this? Like, what's wrong with you? But I mean, but just on this topic, I think it's ridiculous. Again, he was wrong. He was definitely wrong. Yeah. He should not have linked it.
But he
didn't deserve to be reamed for it. And again,
he did the right thing to correct it.
Right. And the thing was, the guy tried to be reasonable with him over Twitter and talking to him on Twitter. But like Kuchera just consistently was just an asshole to him. And people would, and I saw like screenshots of people who responded to Kuchera and were like being reasonable, and he was just like respond with, "Oh no, blocked." It's like, it's so childish. Like, it's so sad that people like him are big in the industry, but total douchebags. So even though he's losing this position, I don't doubt somebody else is going to pick him up, because apparently he was a popular writer on Ars Technica, or however you pronounce their website. I've never really been sure. And that's how he got picked up by Penny Arcade. And frankly, they should have fired him a long time ago, because he's a total asshole. What's funny is too, and of course he made like snotty remarks too about like it being published on Forbes of all places. What's funny is one of the game writers I like the most is a writer for Forbes, and of course now his name completely escapes me. It wasn't the Eric person. I think his article's okay, but there's this other person who consistently almost every article he's written for Forbes about games, I was like,
yeah, I know who you're talking about. I forget his name too, but it's every time I read it, it's like, this is a pretty good approach from Forbes.
And then I'll look at the name and I'm like, oh, it's him again. So yeah, he's been consistently good.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week. You have anything else you wanted to talk about, or
yes, but we were going to save it until next week because it's already been almost an hour and 40 minutes.
Yes,
so.
Stay tuned for a thrilling, amazing conversation about. Well, you'll just have to find out.
Yeah, and I would also like to, hear feedback from folks. Either
definitely.
In the comments if you're watching this from YouTube, or you can always tweet at us. Mm-hmm. I'm at MalachiVT. That's MalachiAIVT, like Victor Tango. Or you can just search Twitter for Vertigo Tea Party, and he is available at.
I'm at Capanius, but it's with an underscore in there. CAPANE_US. And, you can listen to this podcast either on YouTube, or we also have the RSS set up for at supergametalk.com. And we're also on iTunes now. So if you have a moment, please rate us, review us, give us some feedback on that. It's really the best way to bubble up and get seen on iTunes. And you could really help us out quite a lot to get more listeners.
I would like to hear any feedback about anything we talked about. But in particular, speaking of length, I'm curious as to what folks like in their podcast length. I realize a lot of folks will just have a podcast going while they're at work or while they're doing exercises. So what length is good? I mean, given we tend to both be kind of long-winded, I think 1 hour is absolutely the bare minimum we would ever be able to do and feel like we talked about. And we could easily go 3 hours, I feel, at any given time.
I think sometime we should have our 12-hour podcast.
That's what we should do for next 24-hour Extra Life.
Yes.
It's just, we'll like randomly play a game, but then have it be a podcast.
I'm already starting to think about what to do for next year's Extra Life. So
I'm not even thinking about it yet.
Man, I got plans. It's going to be
You should do more 24. You can actually do another marathon for Extra Life if you want.
They need to have like I could do one of those marathons like every 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess it's really the build up to asking people fundraising.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't do that every 6 months, but I'd love to have a marathon stream every once in a while. Like, because it was fun having people pop into my Twitch stream and just talk. I mean,
or you could just stream at any time.
Yeah.
That's kind of how streaming works in general.
Yeah, just my internet sucks. My upload rate is awful.
Yeah, that does suck. But yeah, definitely get back to us. Let us know what is your ideal length, or do you even have one? Do you care if it's 1 hour or 2 hours or 3? 3 is probably the most. I think we would when we get starting at 3. I think that's when it started to get a little bit long. But again, I know there's podcasts out there that regularly tend to go 3 hours. So definitely like to hear feedback on that or anything else that we've discussed today. So anyway, thank you guys for listening.
Thanks for listening again. We're 3 down, so I feel like we got some momentum going to do this every week.
We're established in the industry now.
Yes. I think everybody will be talking about us this week and how well this podcast is going. But
I'm sure that they will be. Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for being here with me, Capanius, in this time of Game Talk.
It's a very serious tone on this goodbye.
Yes.
All right. You guys have a great week.
All right. See you guys later. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.